accessory. Let's not make any mistakes. But I think they chose well. And it's funny because this is one of those trees it's a very prominent tree, so when you go onto this road and you mention and you just say, that big jackalberry, everyone's like, oh yeah. Everyone knows exactly what tree you're talking about because it's a tree that's got character. And it's one of those trees where as soon as you start driving on a property, you're like, oh, I wish I could see a leopard up there one day. So I think the universe was open to our wishes and we got very lucky this morning. And even the rain stopped, which is amazing. Both of them looking quite good. Misha, you're saying he's making you hungry. I think he's making all of us hungry because he's really enjoying that meal. Look at his claws. Very powerful. So we must remember that even at a young age, this leopard cubs can be a force to be reckoned with, especially for us humans. I mean, I wouldn't really want to be touched by any of those claws in an aggressive manner because they could do a lot of damage. But just proves that these are animals that are built for action even from a young age. I don't think there's that much more meat left in there, little Thamba. Although he's been a vacuum cleaner, he's done a very good job. What? Also on top of Mom, you are gonna be in so much trouble. Oh, aren't you a big leopard mover? You're a killer around. Oh, this is incredible. Treading carefully. You're lucky because it's a big tree and the branches are quite big. So he just had to reposition because I think the other spot wasn't the best, but I don't know if this is your best choice. There's a lot of bone crunching in answer to do leopards eat bone question that we had earlier on. So Thandi is definitely crushing some of the bones here. She won't eat it all like perhaps a hyena would, but definitely some bones are being consumed at the moment. Yeah. I don't know if this was your smartest call, Thamba. I think the other way that you were in was probably easier for you to eat. Leopard cubs will be leopard cubs. So much to learn still. Seems like a game of balance now. Tail hanging the one side, leg hanging the other way around. Maybe he realized that this was not the best position to be in. And luckily, he's doing it in a safe environment, so even if he drops the kill, he can always go down and pick it up, and there are no hyenas waiting for him to drop anything and to run away. Oh. Okay then. It's perhaps not the best view, but look at that stomach. Seems like Tristan managed to find something that also lives on a tree, so let's go to him before it flies away.
Well, not this particular bird, Ali. This bird does not spend any time in a tree whatsoever. In fact, it's a ground-dwelling bird. It is a red-crested Korhaan, and you can see the beautiful black chest. And the reason why we know it's a red-crested Korhaan is because that black doesn't extend all the way up to the beak. If it did, it would be a black-bellied Korhaan. But this is, or black-bellied bustard, should I say. So the red-crested Korhaan, you'll find them often in places like this. This is an area that's just been recently cut as a fire break. So if there is a fire somewhere, we can be able to stop it and not have it cross this area. And what it's doing is it's opened up this grass area for hunting. And so this Korhaan has now come in and it's using the fact that it's shorter grass to be able to spot insects that have made their homes here, and will be able to then hunt fairly easily. But you can see as soon as it turns its back to us, look at how that camouflage starts to work. So when we see it from the front, big bright black color, it stands out very easily. But as soon as it turns its back, it becomes very difficult to see, and it becomes one of those birds that you have to actually look quite carefully for them, and they can often hide in plain sight, particularly when they get into the long grass. Then it becomes very difficult to see them. And they have the most amazing display, these guys. The males, when they display to the females, they'll fly up and do this suicide dive towards the ground, and then at the last second they open their wings and land. And they also have quite a nice call where they make a sort of tapping sound to start, and then it goes into this feverish, high-pitched whistling towards the end. So quite a extravagant display that they've got. Now, the reason why they've got such sort of contrasting color with the black in the front and that more camouflaged wing pattern on the back is all they're designed as flash coloration. You see now when it gets into the longer grass it becomes a lot harder to see, but flash coloration, basically you see it on a lot of grasshoppers, you'll see it on some birds, is where a certain color is effectively flashed to a predator, and so that predator actually then starts to look for that particular color itself. So it will look for any sign of this black, but then when it folds its wings and turns its back to the predator, it will then blend in with that camouflaged back wing section. Now, Ryan, you say it looks like a mini ostrich. Well, they do. The Korhaans are all sort of very similar to the ostriches in terms of not only how they look but their behavior. They tend to rely more on being on foot than flying, even though they are able to fly. And you'll find that they have these long legs, big body, and then a long neck with a small head. So very similar to ostriches in a lot of ways. And I'm quite surprised. They're generally not too tolerant of us as people and cars, but this one's obviously loving the fact that it can get so much food from the firebreak that its fear of us is being far outweighed by food source, and that's why it's actually coming closer rather than running away. They typically are not easy to actually get onto camera, these guys. Yes, we're talking about you. David, you say this is number 43 for your bird list. Well, that's excellent news, David, and hopefully we will continue to grow your list. And remember that the summer is starting to come, and when summer comes, well, the bird list will explode exponentially, and we should be able to get you well over 100 fairly quickly. So it's great news that you are keeping a list, and for those of you that are new viewers, I encourage you to do the same. It is quite a fun thing to do, to try and see how many birds that you can see with us on drive, and some of you guys have amazing lists that I know are well over the 230, 240 mark, so that's pretty good and something to aspire to. It would actually be nice to know who's got the highest list of our Safari Live viewers as to how many birds you've all seen. Maybe you can post hashtag Safari Live what your lists are, and we'll see actually what the highest number of birds is for this area, given that you guys get to watch a lot of the drives, so it'll be quite interesting. Right, now our tracks for Shongile cross straight over Philemon's cut line. They're heading towards Rebecca's Road. They're not very fresh. They look as though they're from last night, early last night. There's an impala track over the top of them, and I can see where the hyenas had followed her most of the night. So I'm going to try and see if I can't find her tracks on Rebecca's side. I'm going to go loop around and see if there's not anything there. And if there's not there, then I think maybe Pangolin track towards Twin Dams again, see if she hasn't gone southwards around. We know that she often likes to hang around the old hyena den as well, so I'm going to try and just check on Rebecca's side, and if there's nothing coming out, well, then it might be a tough time to find her, because this is quite a big block that she's crossed into, and there's a lot of drainage lines in there, and it's not an easy place to be able to track down a small leopard. But we will try our very best and see what we can find. And talking about leopards and all things spotted, well, Ali's still enjoying her sighting of Thamba and Thandi, and must admit I'm a little bit jealous.
I've got to say this, Chantal, because we had quite a funny link from Chantal on the radio, so we've decided we are with Thambi now. Thamba and Thandi. I thought it was pretty much finished, but he dropped another piece, and it seems like there's still quite a bit of meat left down there. So, seems like he's not going to be going anywhere just yet. And it is funny, often, like, how many times already in the sighting where it was like, oh, there's not much meat left, and then all of a sudden he pulls up another piece that was hanging on the tree. Now, he's trying to get the skin off, whatever part it is that's still attached to bone. That's why he's being so careful in the way that he's doing it. And just using his very big paws to try and get everything out. Beautiful. Thandi is just there at the bottom. That's a very funny. It's almost like he's disgusted that he has to deal with the skin. That is a very funny face, Thamba. If you are wondering about hairballs, that's his way of getting rid of all the hairballs, of all the hair that's still attached, because they will not eat the hair. He's just trying to get the hair out so that he can get to the skin, so that he can cut the skin, so that he can get to the meat. So it's still a bit of a process, but I'm not too sure how much meat actually I could potentially get out of this part. Doesn't seem like too much. Perhaps still a good bite, and if you're not careful, you're gonna drop it again. What if he drops down a nice meaty part? I don't think Thandi would be too upset. She's still been eating all the scraps that he dropped earlier on. That is an incredible screenshot.
Yeah.
Oh, yes! I can just hear the trrrr, like with the part of the camera. That is gorgeous. What a great tree to be. Rajni, you say he looks disgusted by the hair. I think so. I think he's not too happy about the amount of her hair that he's got to wade through. But if you want the meat, you've got to go through the hair. Alright, seems like Tristan has managed to find a warthog, so let's go over to him and say hello.
I've found one of the bigger warthogs that we have out here. This is a rather large male. He doesn't look that large because he's kneeling down at the moment and doing that typical warthog feeding pattern that they do that is so comical, where they sit on their front legs and feed and use that big disc-like snout to be able to get lower to the ground and dig up any little roots and tubers that there might be. But I can tell you that he is massive. To give you an idea of how big he is, I would say that he's easily, maybe not lengthwise, but in terms of bulk, the size of a female leopard. He's massive. He's got a big bulky front section and thick head and neck, and it's difficult to get a size sort of comparison with him and another animal. But in terms of dogs, I would say a very, very large mastiff would be a good way to think about it, just not as long a legs, but body size and thickness is quite large. So he's a big guy and he's very relaxed. Generally the warthogs around tend to just get up and go when we come along, but you can see this guy hasn't even gotten onto his front legs, so he's very chilled with us. And the reason why we know he's a male is, well, not only because of his size, but you see he's got very large warts on his face, so there's big ones around the eyes and then another set protruding from the middle of the face between the eyes and the tusks themselves. Now those warts on a female is very, very, very rare to find that middle set of warts on a female. It does happen. In fact, James actually found one here on Djuma, but they definitely won't be as pronounced as what you see there. Brian, you're asking if a warthog would eat meat. Well, Brian, they're not really. They're not designed to eat meat, and there are reported cases of warthogs going up to carcasses and sniffing around and picking up bits, and whether or not they actually consume chunks of the meat is debatable. There's also been circumstances where I've seen them actually go to a carcass and feed off the rumen that was inside the carcass itself. So it looked as though they were eating parts of the carcass, but they weren't. They were feeding off balls of grass that were still stuck in the digestive tract of that particular carcass, which is quite an interesting way of doing things. But I have never personally seen a warthog eating any chunks of meat or any sort of protein like that. You see it in bush pigs, which is one of their cousins that we get out here very seldom in the Sabi Sands, but there are lots of bush pigs towards the Drakensberg Mountains on our western side. But these guys, theoretically, no, they mostly are herbivorous. You'll find that the others are omnivores like normal domestic pigs, but these guys not so much. Now you can see when he stands up against the termite mound, he's quite large. He's a serious individual, this guy. Roshni, you say he's a confident warthog and on a mission. Well, I think he's on a mission to feed that belly of his. He's trying to get as much food. You can see he's even got a little dewlap going, so that gives you an idea of just how sort of big this guy is. You don't see dewlaps too often on warthogs, but our warthog friend here has got a dewlap and a very interesting hairstyle too, with all that hair kind of folding down over. He's got a bit of a comb over going this morning, and then you can see the hair around the face as well. But there are not too many that are bigger than this guy, that's for sure. And I wonder if this termite mound or one of these mounds close by is not where he lives at night, and now he's just woken up and is just getting the nutrients he needs to start his day. There we go. It's been very nice. It's nice to have a warthog that's so relaxed, because generally, like I say, they see us and they tail up and running away, but this guy has been very chilled. And there you can see those warts very clearly, and those big tusks. Now, everyone always thinks that those tusks that you see protruding from the face are the dangerous ones. Those actually aren't the dangerous ones. If you see when he opens his mouth, you can see there's a small set of tusks just underneath. Now, those little sets, as he opens and closes, are grinding up against the big set, and that means that they get sharpened, and those are like little razor blades. They will do serious damage to anybody that gets anywhere in the way of that, and I've seen many a lion and leopard suffer the consequences of going after a warthog from those tusks. We end up with big gashes, and funny enough, Mafufanyan, which was a male leopard that we had in this area, and was probably in all likelihood the father of Shadow and Thandi, he tangled with a warthog one day and ended up coming off a second best badly. He ended up with a big gash over the top of his head. It did all heal up and he survived, but he certainly paid the price for tangling with one of these big guys like this. Thank you, Mr. Warthog. Have a nice day. Enjoy your feeding. Now I'm going to try and see if I can't go around ahead and see if I can't cut off these tracks for Shongile, and if they come out, and whether or not they're actually still around, because I'm thinking that maybe she crossed all the way through. I'm hoping that she did. If she didn't, it's going to be really tough to find her, but I'm really hoping that she kind of went across onto Rebecca's and she's found herself a nice termite mound where she's lying down and just sitting, staying nice and warm. That would be the ideal thing, just curled up a mound. Or actually, even better would be if she has a kill and is up a tree herself. That would be a far more ideal situation. So while I concentrate and try and see if I can't find this three-lobed footprint that I'm looking for on these sandy roads, let's go across to Ali, who doesn't have any such trouble this morning and has managed to find those leopards fairly easy and is still enjoying little Thamba with his carcass.
That is true. I think it was a lot easier knowing where to go look. But if there is someone that can find Shangila, likely that is Tristan, because out of pure stubbornness, I think Tristan does not allow leopards to just walk by and him not finding them. So hopefully he'll be able to find the little princess. I'm sure everyone's been wondering how she's doing, because her brother seems to be out and about a bit more often. Now Tamba's looking at a squirrel that's been jumping around the tree, and the squirrel was funny earlier on. It even started almost alarming, but then it realized that the leopard was a bit too close to it, so it quickly shut up. Very interested. I think he's on this tree. Yeah. There it is, jumping around. Now that's the squirrel that caught Tamba's attention. Now you don't only have one leopard here, you have two. So often we use squirrels when we're looking for leopards or any potential predator, but I think in this case we have the case of a panicked squirrel that knows exactly where they are, and it's realized that silence is probably the best thing to try and get away from these two leopards. Well, you've got some unwanted visitors in your house, don't you, little squirrel? Would be the scary kind to have. Funny squirrel. I can hear her alarming. Tick, tick. It's very low, especially for how noisy squirrels can be. It is, however, very funny seeing a squirrel in this mood. Because make no mistake, the squirrel can see the leopards, but I think it's just like, maybe if I'm quiet, they won't come into my tree again. The attempt Tim, you were excited to see the squirrel. Well, it was quite funny, and I just think it's hilarious because they're such loud creatures. Then when they can't be loud, it's almost like, haha. Now, Thamba has carried on going at this piece of meat that he's got there, and I am impressed by how much meat Diker has yielded for both leopards. It was a male, so it was probably slightly bigger Diker as well. Misha, you're wondering how much a leopard needs to eat per day. Well, roughly all animals need to eat between 5 to maybe 10% of their body weight on a day. So, let's say that Thamba's, what do you say he is, Seb? Like 40 kgs? 30?
Yeah, 30, 40, between 30 and 40.
Yeah, he's still quite young, so about maybe 2 kilograms of meat a day for him for the time being. But they can go for a few days without having that and then eating an absurd amount of meat. And sometimes even eating about 20% of their body weight, which in some creatures can be about maybe 10-15 kilograms of just pure meat. So it takes quite a while to digest it, and that's why when they gorge themselves, you'll see that they won't have to eat straight away. So, which is pretty much what's happening now. I think they are both quite full, and I think Thamba more so than Thandi, and he won't necessarily have to eat tomorrow. I reckon he'll still be quite full. Tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, he'll start looking for some meat. But having said that, if they ever had the opportunity, or a very good opportunity, they would probably take it. Even if it came down to eating the squirrel that was jumping around here. Can hear a lot of crunching that's coming from Thandi at the bottom, and Thamba just holding on to the kill. A lot of hair. We are still hoping that Thandi's gonna go up at some point. Well, we know now for sure it is a male Diker, just by looking at the head and the ears. Judging by the ears, it looks like it was an older male as well. So perhaps Thandi was very clever in her choice of prey. Standing by. Abram, still 3 movers here. Where are you taking it? Swapping and moving around. Mrs. Zero, you're saying that Thamba is your favorite leopard and that you love his big ears. Well, he does have big ears and big paws, more so than some of the other youngsters that we get around this area. And definitely when compared to Hosanna, then his ears may appear even bigger. It's almost like he still has to grow into the rest of his body. I think we got here right at the right time, Seb. We got lucky this morning. Now I wonder if he's going to drop it again.
It's not Friday. Feline Friday.
Feline Friday. Is it Friday today?
No, I'm saying it's not Friday.
Oh, yeah, it is a pity it's not Friday. What day is it today? No, it's not working. Is it Thursday today? It is Thursday. What do we have for Thursdays? Thirsty Thursdays. I don't know, hey. Beautiful. It's quite the view. And Thandi is still down at the bottom. I'm just going to move my head so it's not in the shot. But she's still busy crunching some bone and eating the little pieces that he's dropped. And she's still down there. So clearly it was a lot more meat than when we first anticipated, but which is great because then we've managed to have them up here for such a long time. Alright, seems like Tristan is still searching for Shongile, so let's go over to him and wish him luck. I'm sure he'll be able to find her.
Well, I am still searching for her, and I don't know how this is going to go, just because, like I say, the tracks are not fresh, and they're not tracks that are indicative that she's right here. I'm just taking a chance and having a look, but I don't see any sign of her actually coming out onto Rebecca's anywhere. I've driven slowly. It's not to say that I haven't missed the tracks. She's got small feet, and if she's just gone straight across the road, to find her is going to be very tough and not easy. But I'll go back roughly to where I had the tracks. I just want to have a double check and just see if she didn't maybe come back and I missed them coming back towards this area. It is possible. There are lots of impalas around, which generally means that she's probably not here at the moment. So I'm going to just try and have a little look quickly, but there's definitely no sign of her tracks that I can see coming out onto Rebecca's, Zoe's. Like I say, maybe she's down inside this drainage here. There is a little steep drainage section that she could have spent a little bit of time, so it is possible that she is down there. Now let's have a look here quickly, because this is often where she does walk. She kind of comes from Treehouse and then comes down towards this area, but the tracks that I had went straight over Philemon's and down towards this drainage section itself. But you never know, maybe she's looped. I know she's been seen a few times in these marula trees around here, but given the way that the temperature is today, I don't think, unless a leopard's got a carcass, I highly doubt it's going to be out on top of a tree. I would imagine rather curled up in a tight ball somewhere, trying to stay nice and warm. That would be my estimate or guess as to where they could be. But if I get nothing here, it might be worth just checking towards Philemon's dip side and seeing if maybe I just didn't miss some tracks going over. Let's have a little squiz. The other possibility, I'm just trying to think where she could go. Elizabeth, you're wondering which animal is the smartest generally. Hands down, elephants, Elizabeth. They are by far the smartest animals we see here, by a long shot. So I would say them, followed by... well, some of the birds are pretty clever as well. They've got some good ways about them and good strategies and techniques to think about stuff. So the birds are pretty smart. But animal-wise, elephants, hyenas are very clever animals, even though they don't look it, but they are. Now I'm trying to find the last track that I had of them. Now this is pretty typical, is when you saw them earlier, now I actually can't see them again. Where did you go, little Shongile? Here they were. So somewhere here is where she crossed straight over the roads. Now her tracks are almost invisible. I'm trying to see if I could show you one, but with this rain cover on, it's going to be absolutely impossible. But she heads straight in this direction, so she crosses over, and her tracks then theoretically should have come out on Zoe's, not on Rebecca's. Actually, if I look at it where we are now, she's heading much closer towards Zoe's, and I didn't pick up anything there. So I think maybe what we might do, just trying to think what the best plan of action would be for this. It might be worth just checking. There is a termite mound right here, so I'm going to just have a quick look at that termite mound and just see if maybe, just maybe, she's not lying on the mound itself. Like I say, the tracks are not great. They're not tracks that I would be very excited about and be like, she's right here somewhere, not like the Tingana tracks that we found earlier that crossed into Arethusa. Those were super fresh and were from from this morning with the rain. So these I don't think are the same kind of tracks. They look a lot older, but you never know. Maybe she's curled up and decided to find herself a spot to rest for the night and is still there. We know that she does sometimes spend a little bit of time in one place, so worth just having a quick look. There is a nice big prominent game path here that I just also want to have a little look on, see if her tracks do come down. I actually can see her tracks. She's just walking straight along this path at the moment, so I wonder if she's not just curled up on this mound somewhere. Let's have a little look quickly. The pathway that I'm following is going straight towards the mound. You can actually see it running slowly along like that, and so that's the pathway that she was walking on. Obviously, as we get deeper into this, so the pathways start to split more and more, and you've got to then pay attention as to what goes on. Also, the pathways sometimes lose their sort of thickness as animals distribute out and feed. You end up with a situation where it doesn't become as prominent, and then the tracks become much harder to actually see. But no, she doesn't look like she's actually on the mound. And to spot her if she's not on a mound is going to be almost impossible, given that this grass is such a light color, and if she's curled up in this and not popping her head up, we're going to really struggle to find her. But let's just check. There's another mound here that we can have a little look at quickly, and this is kind of the only way that we're going to be able to do this. Otherwise we'd have to be on foot to try and find her, and given that it's just Ali and myself this morning, it's a little tough to be on foot for long periods of time, because, well, one then takes the brunt of it more than the other. So just trying to slowly go along here and just see if I can't find anything using the car. I'm not, like I say, that hopeful, but it's worth a bash anyway. Kruger, you're right on the back there. You're all protected this morning. You're not going to get whipped with trees this morning. So that Craig will be happy about that. Come on, Shongile, where are you? Time to show yourself. The problem is we're going through a little monkey orange thicket, which is quite noisy, which I suppose in some ways is not great, but in other ways is not bad, because sometimes with a little noise a leopard can pop its head up and be able to sort of show themselves, and we'll be able to then find them. So that would be quite nice if that was the case. But I believe Ali has now left Thamba and Thandi, and I can just imagine she's going to bump into Shongile before us, given how lucky she's been already this morning.
Well, if we do bump into Shongile, that would be pretty much first prize. Unfortunately, we had to leave Thamba because we've got to share them with the other vehicles, and there was another game drive vehicle that was interested in coming, so we made space for them because we had also such an awesome view of them that I think we've got to share the joy. Now, if it's not too busy in the next little while, then we'll come back and see if maybe Thandi does join Thamba up in the tree. But for now, I think let's look for elephants. There were some elephants that sounded quite grumpy while we were at the leopard sighting, and it sounded like they were far in the distance. So who knows, maybe we'll be able to find some of the biggest creatures around here. And while we were at the leopard sighting, I spoke to Taxon, who was busy trying to track the Nkuhumas on Buffelshoek side Manuleti, but he also says that it seems like the lions lately, they grow wings and then they fly away and nobody can find their tracks anymore. So seems like maybe they are somewhere in between Buffelshoek and Manuleti, and hopefully Tristan will be able to find pretty little Shongile. And I'm not sure, maybe we'll find the elephants. So far it's been a fantastic morning, not too bad for a Thursday. Yeah, I think Seb and I still, like, when I close my eyes I just see branches and beautiful Thamba when the light came out. That was stunning, because the light only came out, or that beautiful golden light, only for a few moments. and then it seems like it's cloudy again. And I wonder if maybe this year we're gonna have actually early rains, because it does feel like summer already. It's been quite a hot winter, this one. Not that I'm complaining, because I'm not a fan of the cold, but I don't know, this drizzle, I think the weather has just gone crazy. But I'm sure even that little drizzle is going to make everything turn slightly of a more greener color, and especially for those burnt areas, that might just stimulate some grass growth. Dear watcher, you're wondering if the rain will bring the grass to grow in the fire break. Most certainly. It was probably not enough rain, but maybe there will be some new shoots coming up, which are going to be more palatable and nutritious and probably get eaten very quickly, because the animals are definitely going to go there. So I think this little bit of soft rain definitely helped. Likely we'll start seeing little green spots here and there, but we would still need a lot more rain than that. But it's a good start. I'm sure the impalas and the zebras are going to be happy to find new green grass if it does come out. Now, I can't see any elephant tracks around here, so perhaps we've chosen the wrong road, Sam. Maybe we have to go onto another road, and we'll see them there. Like we said, the weather has been so funny today. It's been so moody. It's been super cloudy, and then the sun came out, and now it's cloudy again. I suppose it all makes it a bit more interesting. Andy, you're wondering where the crocs will be in the cool weather. Well, very likely in the water. Oh, some old lion tracks. Okay, very likely in the water. They won't be up to much. Likely their metabolism is going to slow right down, because they are reptiles, so they rely on... Sorry, I just want to have a look at this tracks, because it seems like something was running here. Maybe some impala were having a bit of a fright. Let's just go onto this road. See, maybe. And yeah, so the crocs, they're being reptiles, they rely on external factors like the sunlight to be able to get their metabolism going, and they absorb the heat of the sun to pretty much get everything moving. So in days like today's, where it's very nice and cold, they will not be up to too much. Likely they will be quite lethargic, because they would be spending energy that they haven't really absorbed from the sun yet. Alright, I wonder if perhaps those impala were not running from wild dogs, because they were in the area yesterday. And if it's just those three, I wouldn't put it past the wild dogs to just run everywhere without people noticing. Although I can't see anything, so maybe this is just my wishful thinking. Yeah, I think it is my wishful thinking. Justin, you say that you'd love to see a giraffe. Well, that would be quite nice as well. We haven't seen giraffes in quite a while, I would say. I think the last giraffe I saw was maybe about a week ago. So they do occur in this area, but sometimes they just move off. No, nothing more happening here. But it would be good. We have lots of really yummy trees here that they could like, so I don't see why we couldn't find a giraffe. I did hear, however, that there was a herd of giraffe in Buffelshoek, so I wonder if maybe there's not a female that's attracted all the males onto a particular area, and that's why we haven't been seeing them all too much. Would be a possibility. Now, what else is around here? Come on, Elise. We're looking for all of you. But not too much. John, you're wondering which animal I would like to see more of on Djuma. Well, lions would be great. They have been pretty much everywhere but on Djuma lately. Would definitely like to see a bit more lions. But but the problem is that because there haven't been so many lions and we've been having so many leopards, so it's a bit of a tricky question in terms of balance. But I think I would also like to see maybe more pythons. I haven't seen my first python here, the African rock python, and they're such incredible creatures that I definitely wish we could see them. And of course, more wild dogs. I wish they were here all the time. Well, if they were here all the time, we probably wouldn't see anything else. But I wish we would see more wild dogs for sure. So many hopes of all the rare creatures we want to see. Maybe some more aardvarks, of course some more pangolin. And it's quite sad. The aardvark is a very rare creature that looks like almost like a little pig. And they're very rare to find. They're nocturnal and they also feed on termites and ants. And the only one that I've ever seen in the Sabi sand was up a tree because Mr. Anderson male leopard put him there. I was so sad. I was like, no, the first one I see is a dead one. Country Girl, you're wondering if there are any white lions have been seen in the Kruger Park. Yes, they have. Actually, white lions used to be quite common around this area, especially in a region of the greater Kruger called the Timbavati. But it is quite a rare occurrence. Probably a recessive genetic factor allows them to be white, and they can easily mate or mix with the tawny lions. They're not a different subspecies and they're not albinos either. So just looking at some tracks, but I think we've got two prides at the moment that have the gene for them. One of them is in the Lubamba Mountains in the Kruger Park close to Satara, Singita area, and then we've got some more in the Timbavati. I think it's the Ross pride of lions that has got one of the white lionesses there as well. And I know there were some cubs that were born, I think maybe last year, but unfortunately seems like the cubs haven't. It is very rare because it's so rare. They were hunted up to a certain extent, which is not great, but I think there have been lots of captive breeding, just to try and to maintain the genes and perhaps mix them with the populations of lions, but they do occur in the wild, but to a very minor extent. And I've never seen it. Every time I've gone to Kruger, to the Satara area, which is pretty much straight east from where we are, always go looking for those lions. And the closest I've ever come was actually recently, where we found part of that pride of lions, but the white lion was not there. I was so sad. I was like, why? I'm so close. I think maybe we can have a look. See, we've been staring up at the trees all the time. Just have a look at the tree. And the flowers. Alright, so this is an upthorn that we were talking about earlier, and we were wondering about their beautiful flowers. So look at that. It's almost like very long cotton threads. I don't even know what to call them now. But this is normally starts to occur to the middle towards the end of winter, but it's been a very nice transformation that we've been observing in the bush in the last few weeks. More and more upthorns have got these beautiful flowers. Now, they're one of the few trees that actually flower during the winter time, and that is perhaps, it tends to be associated with elephants predating on the bark of this tree more often than in some other times of the year, or more respective to other trees, because the flower production, there's also a lot of sugar that's going to be pumped through the tree trunk. So it's a bit more nutritious to go and eat the cambium layer, that red layer underneath the tree, because there's a lot of sugar that's going up to the branches to then be able to have these beautiful leaves that are going to attract all sorts of pollinators. Whew. And it is one of my favorite views of winter, just especially when we have very pretty skies, perhaps not like the one today, but those blue skies and then these yellow flowers all around. They just look stunning. Now, it is also believed that perhaps this tree is very smart and it starts flowering at this time of the year where nobody else is flowering, just competition with other pollinators. So I'm very clever in general. Alright. Tristan has carried on bundu bashing, so let's go to him and hope that he'll find Shongile.
No, my earpiece is not out. I can hear what's going on. My earpiece out, Craig. Are we live? Oh, and I was whistling. Oh no. Sorry guys, I was whistling. Oopsie, that's what happens when you go through a thicket and my earpiece gets pulled out. I was whistling my way along hoping that Shongile would come to my whistle. But alas, she hasn't. Which means I'm going to carry on. Because like I say, these tracks, well, they're not the freshest that I've ever seen. And it was a sort of, what would you call it? A Hail Mary pass to see if I would manage to find her using the car. And I drove all the way to the drainage line, but the drainage gets a little deep there for the car to go through, and so I thought I'll turn back, and that's why we were whistling and carrying on. And I luckily you didn't catch me while I was singing, because I was singing to Shongile and I was asking her where she was, and luckily that didn't come through, because that would have been embarrassing. Craig, are you just having a nice giggle at me in the back there? Now look who it is. It's our wildebeest friend all the way. He's followed us all morning. He's coming now across and crossing the road. Oh wait, there's more than one wildebeest. Hey guys. What's wrong? There's a whole bunch of wildebeest running in every direction at this stage, and I don't know why. There's a duiker running across the road. They're not alarm calling in any way, so it's not like they've seen a predator. Maybe one just got a bit of a fright and that set all the others off, and that's why everybody's sort of staring as to wondering what's going on. But the rest of the herd is bolted off in a southerly direction. These guys came north onto the fire break. So I wonder what spooked everybody. Maybe it was our duiker friend that came running out. Maybe that gave everybody a fright, and that's why they all came out. And I thought it was just our lonely wildebeest friend, but it's not. It's the whole herd. You can see some of the young ones are here as well. Hello guys. Back to quarantine. I think it's safer to be that side than in a thicket around here. And you can see they're looking all a bit bewildered as to what's going on. Don't think they're quite sure as what just happened. They've watched the rest of the herd run away, and they don't know whether or not there's a predator around, and that's why there's a situation where they're a little bit kind of confused by everything. But had there been a predator, you would have found that they would have started snorting at said predator. They would have been making a lot more noise, and they would have been a lot more alert. Also, if the predator had grabbed one of the wildebeest, you would have found that there would have been some squealing and some noise that would have come from that wildebeest, and we can't hear any of that. So I don't think anybody was grabbed. I think it was more just a case of everyone got a fright at once. Where are the rest of them, Craig? Are they behind us or not? Are they still running? There was just some that ran off to the right here, but I don't know, they seem to have disappeared. So I think we'll leave our wildebeest on their own. Sorry guys if we gave you a fright, I didn't mean to. Okay, but you need to move slightly away from the road, because otherwise I'm going to drive past you and you're going to get a fright. Come on. There we go. So I don't know what caused all of that. Like I say, it must have been just something that spooked everybody and they came charging out. There's definitely no sign of a cat, because if it was something like a lion or a leopard, we would have heard them snorting at it as it kind of ran at them, and that they got away. So it's definitely not that. I think it's just something spooked everybody. Also, in this kind of weather, you find it when it's a little bit windy, overcast, dreary. It does happen. Now, Chantal, I do apologize because I can't hear you very nicely. If you can repeat that for me again. I just heard Clint, but I didn't hear what Clint said. Wildebeest. I get it. Thank you. It's that's a joke worthy of Byron's joke yesterday morning, which James found to be highly entertaining. He didn't admit it, but we know James laughed, and I was having a giggle to myself because I was actually watching Byron at the time, and Byron is full of these kind of jokes. He loves to make jokes about all kinds of things. There we go. Let me just say hello to Rexon quickly, because Rexon is taking a walk this morning, so let me say hello to him. Hello Rex.
Hello.
Good. Have you had a good morning? Lekker. Is in Konza 4 Shongile cuts across here, Farmers North.
Oh.
Yeah, from the junction with Savage's track.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also there was in Kombi there on Impala Plain side. Alright,
Yeah.
Look to the side.
Yes, I saw them, 3 of them going back again.
Okay,
North of Dalago.
okay, sure. Alright, lekker. I'll see you later. So I was just talking to Rexon, and he was telling me about his morning's walk. He's got guests with him this morning, and they did a morning walk instead of doing a drive, which is a nice thing to do because it means that you can kind of get out and you can go and do something different and see little things, and much like our bushwalk, it's the same experience. And so no better person to walk with than Rex. Rex is always very entertaining on walks and very knowledgeable, so he's a good guy to go with and to learn the intricacies of the bush with. And we're very fortunate that when we do our bushwalks, he joins us. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering when bushwalk will be again. Well, after this week, we've just been having a few little technical things that we've needed to sort out and a few logistical things, but bushwalk hopefully is going to become a lot more regular over the next little bit. We're going to have a situation where every time we have a Mara feed with us, we're going to try and send out a bushwalk, and so we should be seeing bushwalks a lot more in the future. We just can't commit to an exact day just yet, but we should hopefully be doing a few more over the next few weeks, which will be nice. And bushwalks are always a good thing to do, but summer is the best time for bushwalks for me because we often get lots of insects and all kinds of other little critters that come out, and the winter is more about trailing animals and finding animals on walks than it is in the summer. So I look forward to the summer rains coming back and bringing back all the life that we so desperately miss. Now, talking about life, it seems as though Ali is on the scan for some life. Well, before we go to her, there's a dwarf mongoose on the road. Sorry, Ali, but you will just have to wait for our cute little dwarf mongoose. I do love dwarf mongoose. They generally are full of beans and doing all kinds of things, and doesn't matter what the temperature is, they generally are out and about and running and causing a little bit of havoc. There comes another one. So there's quite a few of them around. And remember, they are sociable mongoose. They're animals that do spend time in big groups, and they'll all be out now foraging for food. It's that time of the day where they've come out of their den, which was generally an old disused termite mound or holes in the ground that they find, and they then now come out and start feeding. You can see they're a little bit nervous of big objects, and that's why they bolt across the road. They know that they blend very well in the grass itself as opposed to being out in the road, and that's why they'll just dart across and get into the grass and then hide away. So a brief glimpse of our mongoose, but nevertheless a nice glimpse of them. Now it seems as though our skies are still looking quite ominous to the south. We've still got some sort of cloud cover and the wind is getting up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to have some more rain at some stage today. But I was talking about life and scanning for life, I believe Ali is trying to find some sort of signs of life, and so far has not found too much since she left the leopards, but I'm sure she'll get lucky and something will be around the corner soon.
Well, yes and no. We've been talking about how crazy the weather is and looking for signs of life. We have actually found some flowers. So this is a very broken gardenia tree that the elephants have clearly been feeding upon, but there are some flowers that are starting to also open up. I feel like it's a bit early for them to start putting themselves out there, but great to see them around. And they are normally of a white or yellowish color, and I think the ones that we're looking at are the white, and then the bottom one, it might be a bit more yellowy, but amazing that life is really coming back already. Now I'm trying to think, whereas if gardenias should actually be so out of season and have their flowers at this time of the year. So let me quickly just check on one of my tree bucks, because I feel like this is probably not the right time of the year. Let's see. It is a very destroyed tree. Usually from August to December. So it is a bit early. A bit early from them to start opening up. Like I said, the book says that normally from mid-August to December, that's when they yield their flowers. So I think they are a bit early this year. Interesting. Same as the knobthorns. And I wonder if perhaps these two trees are yielding their flowers just a little bit earlier because we are in a drainage line, so a bit of a dip, and there tends to be more water down here. Perhaps it's been a more well-fed tree than some of the other ones. But amazing to see that actually we're starting to get some of the flowers already. Very cool. that was a very nice little find. Now we are heading back onto Thandi and Thamba because it seems like everybody else has left to go and have some coffee because everybody, I'm sure it's freezing. So all the guests have had enough of Thandi and Thamba, so yay, wahaha, good for us. Then we are able to go back just because everyone's already seen them. Because like we said, we've got to be respectful of everyone when you're a guide of everybody else, because it was such an awesome sighting. Everybody else wanted to come and have a look, and now that they have, then we can go back, which is pretty good for us. We're still a bit far away because in our search for elephants we drove a little bit further, but no elephants around. Some old tracks, but I think those might be the tracks for that big herd that Byron had. So I don't think it's any elephants around here, perhaps because it's so cold and sound tends to travel a little bit more. They were all the way in Torchwood because we pretty much got all the way to the boundary, but there was nothing there. So I wonder if perhaps those Ellies are not hiding in another property. Andy, you're wondering what month does summer start in South Africa? Well, it's normally around October, November. That's when we start, or we go into spring, but it's not, I feel like spring doesn't really exist here, or autumn. So spring starts around about October, November, and then it'll be summer, or at least the summer wet season until around about April, May. Normally by May the rains have stopped altogether. So we're still in our winter time. We've got about maybe 2 more months of winter. August tends to be the coldest month for winter in my experience, July and August. And then September will come around, maybe we'll start getting the first rains, and then the weather is going to slowly start changing, and we're going to go back into the wet season, which is also the summertime, funny enough. So everything that we're looking at, everything, all of this that's yellow, it's going to turn bright green. It's going to be quite beautiful. Lots of flowers around. Misha, you're wondering if the animals mind the rain. Well, I don't know if you were watching earlier on. Thandi was certainly looking a bit unhappy when there was that bit of a drizzle, but she kind of just puts a brave face and stays there because she knows there's pretty much nowhere else to go. Sometimes you'll see that they'll go into the thickets, particularly if the rain is too heavy, or they'll go and hide underneath the bush just to guard, to find some cover from the rain. But in general, I think when the first rains happen, animals are just so happy to have some rain, because that's just going to flush everything, and everything's going to be so green and nutritious and palatable that it's almost like all the herbivores get super happy. Seems like Tristan managed to find some different spots, so let's go over to him.
We came to check out our little Genet cave, and there you can see our Genet is firmly tucked inside its hole. There's little spots in the fur, and it's not moving too much now, but it has actually been quite mobile. You can see its back leg moving every now and then. It's stretched up the tree trunk, so I don't know what it's doing at the moment. There it comes back down. So you can see it moving quite a bit inside there. Hello, little one. Isn't this cool, though, that we've managed to find one? And we have Byron to thank for this, that we've managed to find this hole, that we were able to see a Genet pretty much on demand at this stage. I know Ali's had it. This is the first time that I've seen it, but it's super cool to be able to find this hole and find our Genet living inside it. And I wonder if it's going to have its young ones at some point inside there. Now, I hope that it's not getting too stressed by us being here. It seems to be moving quite a bit. So I don't know if there's something it's busy doing inside there or what's going on. It hasn't actually looked out once at us. It seems to be fairly relaxed. You can see even its breathing rate is not too bad. It's quite a slow breathing rate, so it's not too panicked by life. I wonder what it's doing. It keeps kind of standing up and looking up towards the top of the tree and not actually looking at us in any way. Although it now looks as though it's curled up nicely, and I suppose if you're a Genet, the best place to be will be inside a tree like that. Today, you're going to be out of the wind and the cold and the rain that might come, and you can curl up into a nice tight ball and stay nice and warm in there. It certainly looks quite cozy. Isn't it cool to have one of these? It's very nice. I wonder how many of these we can find. Hopefully we follow this and we'll see what happens with this particular individual, and hopefully in time it will get some young ones, and we'll be able to see little baby Genet. Wouldn't that be nice if we had a whole bunch of little babies sticking their head out of that little hole? Now, unfortunately, a car just came past us, so I think the Genet got a bit of a fright, because you can see it moved and tried to go upwards. But hopefully as things sort of calm down, it will get better. Now, I'm whispering because I don't want to spook it. White Lady Owen, you're wondering if there's a difference between a male and female genet. Well, not that I know, White Lady Owen. There's no sort of main structure that you'll get on a male genet or any sort of size variability. I would imagine that males will maybe be slightly bigger, but the chances of seeing two together is very seldom. I've only ever seen two together a few times, and both times they look fairly sort of the same size. So I would imagine that that's the case. Now, it's moved up and out of the hole itself, so I don't want to disturb it too much, so I think we're going to leave it there. But we'll check for you now. Give me 2 minutes and let's check through our mammals book and see what we can find out about male and female genets. Shame, I think it got a fright. There was a car that came racing down the main road and it was bumping along and caused a lot of vibrations, and I think our poor little genet got a little fright. Right, let's see. Description. Doesn't say anything about the males being larger or anything like that. No. And she does have little ones. I remember when I worked at Simbambili, we had a female that lived in the curio shop above the roof, and she had her little ones on the roof above the curio shop, and it was quite interesting. Well, it was a pain because they peed all over all the clothing and all the gifts and in the curio shop, and the curio shop constantly smelt very bad, and it was, you know, difficult to keep everything from being urinated on, and especially when you got clothing items, it's not ideal. But it was amazing to watch. You'd come back from game drive, and if you got back at the right time, they would just be coming out, and you'd see all these tiny little genets running around on the lodge deck and on the table at the entrance, and then they would come bounding out and off they'd go. And when we first spotted them, when we went up into the roof to see what was causing all of this smell, because I thought maybe, just maybe, there might be something dead up there, but we found tiny little genets, and Ali was with me. The genets were about that size when they were curled up. They were a tiny little ball and this little long tail that came off, and it was just so cute to see them. And there was, I can't remember how many, Ali will probably remember exactly, but I think it was 4, might be wrong, 3 or 4 of the little ones. It was very cute to actually see them, and they're all huddled up with their mom, and she was super chilled. She used to just watch us and see us, and the little ones would watch as well, and they actually didn't move too much. Now Craig's busy watching tracks on the road here that I've also noticed, Craig, but I think they're for hyenas given the angle of the tracks. But we shall pay more attention as I get a little bit closer, where I can pull off the side of the road and actually see what these tracks are. There we go. Right here would be the perfect place to look at these. And hyena is right. So there we go. Those are from last night sometime. No sign of any leopard tracks down on the fire break. And I was hoping that at Twin Dams there might be one of our leopards sitting and taking it easy, but it seems as though there's no tracks for them, so I don't think they're here. But we're going to just have a little look around and see if I can't find any sign of anything. And while we do that, I think Ali has made her way back to the ever so beautiful Thandi and Thamba. So let's go and see what they're up to.
We have, but now Thandi has been keeping us in suspense. She keeps calling to Thamba. There's a bit of a contact call. And chuffs a little bit. And she keeps circling the tree, so we are really hoping that she's gonna go up the tree, just because seeing a leopard climb a tree is one of the best things out there. But I think she's just playing with my feelings now. She keeps going around, and she's so close to the tree, and she keeps looking up, and she sniffs the base of the tree, and then she moves a little bit more. So I wonder perhaps she's not trying to get Thamba to come down. Just gonna give you a bit of a keep looking at the tree. Come, girl. almost like she wants to go up, but she's resisting, looking for any excuse not to. And I think she might find the excuse in a little piece of meat that that little boy over there has been dropping as he's been feeding. Kobe, you're 15 years old and you're wondering if Thamba would eat the eyes for nutritional purposes. Of course, he would eat the eyes and pretty much all the internal organs. The only thing that the carnivores don't seem to eat all that often, or they really don't eat, is the stomach, because of the stomach contents that are mainly grass. But even now and again, if they need to purge themselves, or if they're under some sort of nutritional stress, then you can see them eating a bit of the stomach contents themselves. But other than that, they will pretty much feed up on everything, because everything yields some sort of nutritional value, and it's good for them. Keeps a balanced diet. Now I think they so I know this is a tough spot, but I think they spoiled us so much earlier that now we're just gonna have to be patient, because Thandi is with her head in some bushes down at the bottom, and Thamba, as we can see up here, has also got his head hiding in between the branches. So I just want to give them a bit of time before we start moving around, seeing if perhaps they come back into the open, or into an area that's a bit more open. Perhaps Thamba will drop the rest of the meat there, and then he'll be forced to come down. Sammy Jane, you're wondering if leopards ever overeat. Well, I don't think there's an overeating for carnivores. What we say is that they gorge themselves, which is when they look so full that they look uncomfortable. Especially lions are very good at doing that. Their stomachs just look super full and very distended, and then they're going to be quite uncomfortable for a few days. It's almost like they don't know when to stop eating, and then they're slowly going to start digesting their meal, and they're not going to eat for a few days at a time until everything passes through their system and then is put out. Now, Thandi's still looking up, and she's still looking up at the tree in a very funny position, so I don't want to move, because if she does go up the tree, we are in one of the best spots where we'll be able to see her. So I think we're just going to have to look at Thamba's half body for a little while longer. Oh, and it's starting to drizzle again. What funny weather we've had today. Hassan, you're saying that you wonder how they keep their balance so well. Well, it's something that it's a skill that they have to practice, and they start practicing from a very young age. I think in this case they're lucky, because the branches of the tree are very thick and long and just very good for climbing in general. But also their tails, especially when they're moving amongst the trees, plays a very important balancing role. And I don't know if you've ever seen people walk on a balancing rope, that they have either their arms or a very long stick extended just for balancing purposes. It's pretty much what the tail does. It helps them, if they're tipping onto the one side, then they'll move the tail onto the other side just to bring them back up. Beautiful, Thandi. Beautiful, Thamba. What a morning. As Megan would say, what a time.
To be alive.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. Thandi. I can't believe he's still eating. Completely misjudged the size of this tiger. But seeing that they have been so active this morning, there's a good chance that they'll stick around here for this afternoon, which would be quite interesting. As I reckon they're probably going to sleep it off, because they've eaten so much. And hopefully they'll be here for the guys to come and have a look in the afternoon, see what they get up to. Maybe they'll go up and down the tree a little bit more. Nothing goes to waste out here in the bush. Look at those big chunks of meat. we're going to stick around with them, see what else they get up to, perhaps if Thandi goes up, but while we do that, let's go over to Tristan and see what he's up to.
Well, I'm just puttering about, Ali. I'm looking and trying to find some sort of sign or semblance of life somewhere down in the southern reaches of Djuma, but at this stage, well, it's all been quite quiet since we saw our Genet. It's starting to rain again, which is delightful. At least it's now can rain the whole day. I'm quite unfazed by the fact that it will start to rain once we start heading home. So it must just hold out for 20 minutes and then it can rain all it likes until the end of the day. Well, until 3 o'clock when Taylor and Byron are out this afternoon. And we were jokingly around this morning that Ali and I are on this morning and Taylor and Byron in the afternoon, so it's a couple's drive today. Not that they are a couple, but we were just joking around with them. And Craig's having a little chuckle behind me because he thinks it's quite funny as well. So I know Taylor and Byron will probably kick me, both of them, but well, why not? I've already thrown Taylor under the bus with their pajamas this morning, so we can just throw out hashtag couple drive for our Thursday at Djuma. But in all seriousness, now I do hope it does stop raining for them because it's not very pleasant in the rain. It's animals themselves are not that active as we've seen this morning. You find most animals will have found some sort of a thicket to lie in. It's just so lucky that Thandi and Thamba happen to be right near the road and, well, they've got their kill there and that's why we've been able to find them. But I think without that it would have been a tough morning of trying to look for them. I'm pretty sure they would have gone into a dense thick area themselves and also tried to just sleep off this cooler weather. It's come out of nowhere really. It's, you know, we've had nice warm weather the last few days and a wind kicked up all of a sudden yesterday and out came the rain. Now we've got a few impala that are hanging around. I was just waiting for them to move off the road a little bit before I went past. You can see that they do blend quite well themselves, even though they are a more uniform color than what the leopards are. They actually are very good at blending in when they get behind these trees. Now, shame, they all look as though they are very cold. Their fur's all puffed out and it looks like they're a bit damp. I always feel sorry for the impalas in these kind of conditions. They never look the happiest of the animals. Waterbuck tend to be the ones that fare best, but if you look at them, they kind of got this long fur that's up and you can see it's a bit matted in places and so damp and wet and not very pleasant, I would imagine, if you're an impala. And funny enough, actually, conditions like this, when we get these sudden changes from sort of warmer weather to this cooler, wetter weather, particularly around the lambing season, is actually quite dangerous. You often find impala lambs dying from exposure to the cold. An adult like this should be fine. You can see she's a healthy adult. She's got a little swollen belly, which will be getting bigger by the day, I would imagine. But you'll find that the smaller antelope, they can't deal with those extreme changes, in particularly when it gets a little bit cooler, and then you find sometimes that you'll find carcasses. And I actually remember when Brent was here this year, I think it was in January or February, no, it must have been February or March actually, because I was already here. We found those two little impala lamb carcasses on quarantine, and they were being eaten by vultures, and they in all likelihood died from exposure because we had a very cold patch where it just all of a sudden got very cold, and then those two carcasses appeared. So a impala of that age, so a young one like that, would have felt this cold a lot more than the adults. Right, let's leave our impalas in peace. Hope that they have a restful day. Captain Murphy, you're wondering if antelope have emotions. Well, I would imagine yes, they do. A lot more basic than what our emotions are, and probably not as broad a range of emotions as what we feel, but they do have some sort of emotion. I mean, if you see them when they lose their young one, they'll go and they'll call for it and look for it and try and find it. They'll also in some ways try and defend their young one, but they don't have the same processes that we go through, and they certainly do not have the same fear process that we have. If you had to put us out here at night and leave us exposed in the cold, windy, rainy weather with lions roaring around you and leopards, and told you that you can't climb a tree, you'd be pretty scared, I would imagine. Whereas these guys, they don't have that same thing. They have this instinct to survive, and well, when they're not being chased, then they're actually in a fairly relaxed state. And there were some studies that were done on it, and they were saying that impalas don't live in actual fear. They're able to just kind of deal with what happens and go through it. What's wrong, Craig?
A big spider crawled up and I didn't see what it was.
Oh, Craig had a spider incident. Talking about emotions, I think Craig had a slight fear moment there, as a spider apparently crawled up his sleeve, so he was quickly just taking off his jersey to try and get rid of his spider. Are you alright, Craig?
Yeah.
Do we need to call the ambulance? Is all okay? Alright, good. So Craig has now dealt with said spider. Makeup girl, you're asking what is the scariest of the three? Scorpion, snake or spider? I don't know. None of them really scare me that much. For some reason, I'm not one of those that are too petrified by either or any of those three. Although I would say a black mamba would probably be the scariest of that entire grouping for me. I don't think I would be too concerned about it, but generally if you're careful about what you do and you check your shoes in the mornings when you wake up and you just don't leave clothes lying around on the floor and things like that, you shouldn't have too many issues with scorpions and spiders. But I suppose an irritated black mamba in a confined space would not be something I would want to deal with, and that's probably for me the scariest. But otherwise, I'm not too stressed about them, and none of those three really worry me all that much. I'm not sure about some of the others. I know that some staff members are not too impressed by certain critters and spiders and scorpions. I don't think Ali is too perturbed by them either. She seems to be not too fussed. She has a particular phobia of cockroaches, so out of all the things she can't deal with, the cockroaches is one of them, and I always have to, if there's a cockroach around, have to remove it. But otherwise she's pretty chilled with everything else. Craig, you? Scorpion, spider or snake? At this stage, a spider up your sleeve.
Yeah, this is up my sleeve.
Spider up your sleeve. Craig is still a bit wary of his... hang on a second. This is a good memory to have. I want to go back here quickly. Now, I want to see, is that... Okay, can you zoom in on that piece of mud there? And now I know it's just a bit of mud, but I think that that's Herbie's bit of mud. That we had a mud making contest, and there's Herbie's, what's left of Herbie's rhino. It stood the test of time. Well, unfortunately, I think one of the horns is broken off. There's still one little stubby horn there, but that's the test of time of Herbie's rhino, and Herbie apparently is sitting in FC. There you go, Herbie. You see, you built a good one, and the sun has now baked it hard, and there it sits waiting for the rains to come to have another wallow again. So well done, Herbie. Very good. So see all of our other ones that were there. There was a pangolin. There was, I think, an elephant that Jamie made. Was it Jamie that made the elephant, or did she make the rhino? Herbie made the elephant. That's right, Herbie made the elephant, and its trunk is now missing. But the rhino was made by Jamie. That's missing. The pangolin that James made, I think, got taken back to the garages, and at some stage was floating around there, but has gone missing too, I think. And well, my wild dog collapsed pretty much instantly after the drive, so that's also just in bits all over the place. But that was a fun time. Can't believe how long ago that was already. It seems like it was just yesterday, but if I think that it's James and Jamie that were here, that was quite some time ago. It was before they went to the Mara, and most of them have been up in the Mara for at least 3 months now, so it is, time is marching on as it does. But I was trying to now drive Ingwe Alley and see, but no sign of any leopard this side. So X-Ranger wants to know, since it's a couple's drive, and well, Ali and myself and Taylor and Byron later, does that make Seb and Craig a couple? Craig?
We just the third wheel.
Just the third wheel. Ah, there we go. So X-Ranger, no, apparently according to Craig, Sebastian and Craig are the third wheel that's awkwardly brought along when you go on your couple's date. So there we go. hopefully it will be better this afternoon. I'm pretty sure it will be, Craig. I do apologize if you're the third wheel. We don't want to make you feel that way in any shape or form, so hopefully you won't feel like that. Well, I hope you don't feel like that generally anyway. But like I say, I'm pretty sure Byron and Taylor are going to be pretty upset about the fact that I've just said that they're a couple, because they aren't. Before anybody starts anything, they are not a couple, but we just thought it would be funny anyway. Now, we've heard from our third wheel on the back of this vehicle, but let's jump across to the other member of the couple's drive and see what her third wheel has to say about his position in the team.
Well, I don't think the third wheel is too impressed, are you, Seb?
Not really.
We do have to remind you, Tristan, that Seb's already spoken for. So, I don't think he's too impressed with what you've been saying. Although, Byron and Taylor now, that's a couple we all wish to see.
Yes.
We're all probably going to get killed when we get back to camp, though, and Byron and Taylor are waiting for us there. Now, Thamba has been so thorough in finishing whatever's been left that I am taking this to a whole new level. I am very impressed with how efficient this youngster has been. Perhaps he was really hungry, and that's why he's been eating pretty much non-stop for the last 3 hours, just to put everything into an idea of how long it's taking him to devour his meal. Thandi is still at the base of the tree. She hasn't moved at all, and I think she's just maybe waiting for her youngster to finish. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky later on and they will both come down to the dam for a drink, because we're not too far away from the dam camp, so hopefully they'll be around all throughout the day, actually, today and this afternoon as well. And you're wondering if leopards ever get dental issues from feeding. Well, I would assume that they do. I know animals get cavities and sometimes they get rotten tooth and a wide range of dental illnesses. I'm not too familiar with how much it affects them, though. I would imagine, like, if they have a root canal or a very rotten tooth in their mouth that has broken up, that it can be quite painful and annoying for them and probably put them in a very bad mood. But I have seen skulls of elephants with cavities, so I imagine it would be the same for the carnivores. All those rotten pieces of meat and skin that sometimes get in between their teeth, I can't see how that's going to be too hygienic or help for their dental health. That is a very big belly. I think maybe, Seb, let's go around. We're gonna see if Thandi is at the base of the tree and she's in a bit of a more open position. Hopefully she'll be right out in the open at the bottom. But while we do that, let's go to Tristan, who still hasn't found anything. Hopefully he won't bring home any cockroaches.
Well, I feel like we found a fair amount. We've had zebras and wildebeest and genets and warthogs, and I think we've got more species than Ali's found this morning. She might have just found the more important ones, but I think we've done okay considering the weather. Now, I'm just checking up towards quarantine in case little Shongile came up this way. This is a last-ditch effort to see if she's around. Like I said, those trucks weren't that fresh, so I just wanted to have a little look and see. So John, I believe you asked earlier which animal would we like to see more in Djuma, and Ali was said wild dogs. Well, after this morning, can I say all of them? Or is that being a bit much? No, I honestly, in terms of what we do see here, I would love to see obviously the more rarer things more often. So I would love to see things like caracal, serval, pangolins, aardvarks. I would really love to see them a lot more. But in bigger animals, I don't know, we get our fair dose of everything. I suppose I think cheetah a lot more in Djuma would be nice. What else? Sable antelope, that would be a nice one to see. But I think the rarer things more, well, particularly the nocturnal things, I would like to see more of. I mean, I've yet to see a serval since I've been on Djuma. caracal yet to see in the Sabi sands, so one of those would be really nice to see them a little bit more. Like I say, in terms of bigger animals, cheetah and buffalo at the moment would also be quite nice. It would be nice to know what a buffalo looks like again. It's been so long since I've seen a buffalo. In fact, the only buffalo I think I've seen in the last 3 months was on the dam cam the other day, and we weren't even on drive. So I don't think I've physically seen a buffalo in real life for a long time, which is a bit depressing in a way. So I'd like to see them coming back again. I mean, and then the thing about them is it's not just Djuma. It's not, most of the Sabi sands is not seeing massive amounts of buffalo, so that's okay. But yeah, I think the more sort of rarer animals would be nice to see. I don't want to see them all the time because it'll take away the charm of having certain animals like serval and caracal, but just to see them every now and then would be nice, you know, just to get glimpses of them and just to kind of be able to show all of you, because I'm sure a lot of you are dying to see caracals and servals and, you know, pangolins, aardvarks, these kind of things as well. So I think those would be the animals that I would like to see more often on Djuma. And then from a cat point of view, the cheetahs. But talking about cats and that kind of point of view, it is that time of the day, so let's go across the alley and spend our last few minutes gazing at the beauty that is Thamba and Thandi.
We are looking at Thandi now, and she is pretty sleepy, so I think we've come full circle. When we started and we found them this morning, she was looking very sleepy as well, and now that it's roughly about time to go back home also for some breakfast, then she's gone back to sleep. I wonder if they were quite active during the night. I would imagine that there was a bit of going up and down. Perhaps she went somewhere else, and then of course Thamba has not left that very dear branch. Thandi and Thamba Thursday, some of you are saying. I think that's very appropriate. Very, very appropriate indeed, because it has been a morning full of the both of them. So it's the power of the teas, except for Tristan. I'm sure he's going to put a cockroach in my bed now because I said that. Both of them fairly asleep. I don't think that they're going to be up to that much more during the day unless the sun comes out and starts shining bright. But I have a feeling it's going to be quite a very slow morning for them. Tags, no changes? A firm, and Thandi's at the bottom. No problem. Ah, beautiful. Well, like I said, it's been a perfect circle. We started with them moving around, being very beautiful, and then Thandi looking a little bit sleepy, and then walking down, and then Thamba moving and swapping sides and so on. And now, pretty much 3 hours later, they're almost where we started, sleeping their meal off. So I think we couldn't have asked for anything better this morning. Just perfect morning with Thandi and Thamba. Hopefully this becomes a weekly thing and we'll have Thandi and Thamba Thursday every week. I wouldn't complain for that. Beautiful. And of course they couldn't have chosen a better tree than this one. Now, I think Thamba's almost like falling asleep, but he wants to finish what he started eating. So I think he'll give it a try in the next little while. But I think Thandi is definitely done. So I am hoping that the couple that's going to go out and drive this afternoon, that they're going to be able to see, hopefully, both of the leopards up the tree. That's going to be stunning if Thandi does decide to go up the jackalberry, because it's a big tree where both of them can happily have a snooze or an afternoon siesta. But until then, we'll see you all this afternoon and hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.